Have you ever felt that strange pull from an empty house? As if something inside was waiting for you? Tonight, we're stepping into the shadows together, exploring 10 classic haunted homes where whispers hide in every hallway and nothing is ever truly still. Stay close. These places have a way of keeping visitors longer than expected. If you love chilling stories and eerie mysteries, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, take a breath, and let's walk through the first creaking door. 1. The Haunting, 1963. A group enters the infamous Hill House, only to discover the walls seem to breathe, and something inside refuses to stay silent. Stepping into Hill House after that eerie introduction feels like walking from a dim hallway straight into a hungry darkness. There's something different here, something older than fear itself. Have you ever stood in a place that felt alive even when nothing moved? That's the spell Hill House casts the moment our small group crosses its threshold. The air tightens, the shadows stretch, and suddenly every sound feels like a message meant only for you. As the doors groan shut behind Elaine, the researcher desperate to prove the supernatural real, you can almost feel the house leaning in. She's drawn to the silence, to the way the walls seem to whisper her name when no one else is around. And maybe you would be, too. Haven't we all had that moment where curiosity pulls harder than caution? That temptation to look just one step deeper, even when your instincts scream that you shouldn't? What makes Hill House so unnerving isn't the ghosts you see, it's the ones you don't. The footsteps that start in the distance but stop right beside the bed. The pounding on the walls that seems to come from every direction at once. The cold breath on the back of your neck when the room is still. As you watch Elaine wander deeper into the house's secrets, you may start to wonder if she's unraveling the mystery, or if the house is unraveling her. Let me ask you something. If you were there, would you trust your senses? Would you believe the others when they swear they heard nothing at all? Or would you think the house had chosen you to speak to? It's fascinating, isn't it, how a place can twist fear into fascination until you're not sure which one is guiding you anymore. Hill House doesn't rely on jump scares, instead, it creeps beneath your skin, settling there like a whisper you can't quite shake. And maybe that's why this film still haunts viewers decades later. It understands that the most terrifying monsters are often the ones that slip quietly into the mind. So tell me, do you think the house was truly haunted? Or was it simply reflecting Elaine's hidden fears back at her? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Because everyone walks away from Hill House with a different theory, and none of them feel entirely safe. 2. The Innocents, 1961. A governess enters a grand estate where 2 seemingly angelic children may be hiding a darkness far older than their smiles. If Hill House felt like a living creature, then the estate in The Innocents feels like a dream that turns colder the longer you stay inside it. You can sense the shift immediately, like stepping from one shadow into another. Softer one, only to realize it's not softer at all. Just quieter, and far more patient. Have you ever walked into a place that looked beautiful at first glance but gave you that strange, sinking feeling the longer you stared? That's the trap here, beauty masking something restless beneath the surface. Miss Giddens arrives with hope, warmth, and a desperate need to do good. She wants to believe the best in the children, she wants this house to welcome her. But the house, with its long corridors and distant echoes, doesn't welcome anyone. It watches. The children, Miles and Flora, are sweet in a way that feels almost rehearsed, too perfect, too calm. And when they tilt their heads just slightly, eyes flickering with something they shouldn't know at their age, you can feel the same question rising in Miss Giddens' mind. What happened here before I arrived? And why does it still linger? You ever met someone who smiled at you, but their eyes told a different story? That's exactly what this film plays with, the possibility that innocence can be a mask. And masks can hide anything. As Miss Giddens starts seeing figures in the lake's reflection, shadows by the tower, voices slipping through the night air, she becomes trapped in a terrible uncertainty. Are the ghosts real? Or is her imagination turning against her? And more importantly, do the children already know the truth? There's a kind of elegant dread woven through every scene. Like the house is whispering secrets only Miss Giddens can hear. It's not loud, not chaotic, just lingering, unsettling. The kind of fear that curls around you slowly and doesn't let go. Watching her fight to protect the children while doubting her own sanity draws you in deeper. And you can't help wondering, if you were the one seeing these figures, would you trust yourself? Or would you try to rationalize it until the haunting felt like your own fault? The brilliance of the innocence is how it leaves room for you to decide what's real. Every glance, every strange shift in the children's behavior makes you wonder who holds the truth. So tell me, do you think Miss Giddens was truly seeing ghosts? Or do you believe the horror came from inside her own unraveling mind? Let me know what side you're on, because this film sparks debates that linger long after the last haunting note fades. 3. House on Haunted Hill, 1959. A millionaire invites strangers to spend one night in a haunted mansion, promising a reward if they survive till morning. Leaving the unsettling ambiguity of the innocence, we step into a different kind of trap, one that smiles at you before it snaps shut. The mansion in House on Haunted Hill doesn't hide its intentions the way Bly Manor did. No, this place greets you like a host who's far too pleased you've arrived. Have you ever walked into a room where everyone was pretending to be fine, but you could feel the tension buzzing just beneath the surface? That's exactly the energy this house gives off from the moment the doors slam behind the guests. Frederick Lauren, the eccentric host with a grin sharp enough to cut glass, gathers 5 strangers who have nothing in common except desperate lives and empty pockets. He tells them the rules with a calmness that feels almost playful: stay the night, endure whatever the house throws at you, and walk away with a small fortune. But while he's speaking, the house itself seems to shift, like it's laughing quietly in the background. And honestly, wouldn't you start questioning your choices right then? What kind of man pays you to survive a night unless he knows most people won't? As the guests explore the mansion, its corridors stretch longer than they should, doors close without sound, and cold drafts sweep through rooms with no open windows. The shadows here cling tighter, like they're waiting for someone to step just 1 foot too far. And when the lights flicker, revealing shapes that disappear the moment you look directly, you begin to wonder if the house is playing tricks, or if something inside it is waking up. One of the most gripping moments is the subtle shift in each guest's behavior. Their nerves fray, their suspicion grows, fear turns them inward, then outward, until everyone looks like a threat. And tell me, if you were trapped in a house full of strangers, each one hiding something, who would you trust? Would you stick close to the group, or find a quiet corner and hope nothing found you there? What makes House on Haunted Hill so mesmerizing is the dance between real danger and manufactured terror. The house feels alive, yet Lauren's twisted games blur the line between haunting and human cruelty. You're left guessing until the very end: are the ghosts real? Or is the true horror the people invited inside? So I'm curious, do you think the mansion was genuinely supernatural? Or was the fear simply shaped by the darkness already inside each character? Share your take, because this film leaves just enough cracks for your imagination to slip through. 4. The Changeling, 1980. A grieving composer moves into an isolated mansion, only to find the house hiding a restless spirit desperate to be heard. After the twisted games and manufactured terror of House on Haunted Hill, stepping into The Changeling feels like entering a quieter nightmare, one that doesn't shout for your attention but whispers until you can't ignore it. There's a different weight in this house, a sadness that clings to the walls. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like someone had just been crying there, even if no one was around? That's the kind of heaviness this mansion carries from the moment John Russell unlocks its door. John arrives broken, mourning his wife and daughter, searching for silence, longing for anything that might numb the ache in his chest. But the house offers no comfort. Instead, it watches him, it listens, it waits, and soon, the silence he craves is shattered by a single, echoing sound: the rhythmic thump of something bouncing down an unseen staircase. It's subtle at first, the kind of noise you might blame on old pipes or settling wood. But then it happens again, and again, until denial becomes impossible. Tell me, would you keep exploring? Or would that be the moment you packed your bags and ran? What separates this haunting from the others we've seen is the strange tenderness behind it. The spirit here isn't a vengeful monster lurking in the dark. It feels more like a child pressing its palms against a locked door, begging for someone, anyone, to help. And the way John reacts says everything about his own fractured heart. Instead of fleeing, he listens. Instead of hiding, he follows the clues. Maybe because helping this ghost gives him a reason to keep breathing. Or maybe because he knows what it's like to be unheard. As John digs deeper, the mansion becomes a labyrinth of memories, dusty rooms holding secrets no one wanted uncovered. Hidden spaces filled with objects left behind by a life stolen too soon. And the more he uncovers, the more the house seems to react, as if guiding him toward the truth. Have you ever felt like a place was trying to tell you a story, even if you weren't ready to hear it? The emotional power of the changeling comes from this delicate balance between sorrow and fear. It's not just a ghost story, it's a plea for justice. Whispered from beyond the grave, every sound, every door that opens on its own, every flicker of movement feels like part of a conversation between the living and the dead. So here's my question for you. Do you think John was drawn to this house by fate? Or was it the spirit who chose him specifically, someone wounded enough to finally listen? I'd love to know which side you believe in, because the changeling leaves a mark that's deeply personal for every viewer. 5. The Amityville Horror, 1979. A family moves into a spacious riverside home, only to discover the house hungers for fear, and it knows exactly how to feed on them. Coming from the sorrow-soaked whispers of the changeling, we now step into a haunting that feels far more predatory, like the house itself has teeth. The moment the Lutz family unlocks the door to their new dream home, there's an eerie thrill in the air, the kind that makes you wonder whether the place is welcoming them, or stalking them. Have you ever walked into a house that looked perfect but gave you an instinctive chill? As if your body knew something your mind didn't? That's the unsettling energy waiting in Amityville. At first glance, the house feels warm, spacious, almost too good to be true. And that's exactly the trap. The moment George Lutz steps inside, something seems to cling to him, an invisible coldness, creeping up his spine like fingers made of ice. Little by little, the house begins carving away pieces of him. Sleepless nights, sudden rage, that growing obsession with the firewood, with staying warm, with something lurking just beyond the edge of his sanity. Tell me, how long would it take you to notice something was wrong if the danger didn't roar, but whispered? What makes this haunting feel so brutal is the way it twists everyday moments into nightmares. A swarm of flies that shouldn't exist in winter. Doors ripped off their hinges with no sound. Strange noises echoing through empty rooms, as if something is pacing just out of sight. And the children, well, the house finds ways to reach them too. Not through fear, but through comfort, through imaginary friends that might not be imaginary at all. Doesn't that idea bother you a little? A house that knows how to adapt its haunting to whoever walks its halls. As the days bleed together, you can almost feel the house tightening its grip. It doesn't need theatrical scares, it simply pushes, nudges, whispers in ways that make the characters, and you, question what's real. Is George losing his mind? Or is the house wearing him down like water eroding stone? Is the evil born from the house itself? Or from the violent history that soaked into its foundation long before the Lutz family arrived? What makes the Amityville Horror linger is that it refuses to give you a clean answer. It lets the haunting seep under your skin, makes you wonder whether a place can absorb the darkness of the past and continue to breathe it out. So I'm curious, do you believe the evil in this house was supernatural? Or do you think the family's fear gave the horrors their power? Drop your thoughts below, because this is one of those stories where every viewer walks away with a different ghost still following them. 6. Burnt Offerings, 1976. A family rents a grand old mansion for the summer, only to discover the house feeds on their pain and grows stronger with every crack in their sanity. After the predatory dread of the Amityville Horror, Burnt Offerings drags us into a haunting that feels slower, more patient, like the house isn't hunting its residents, but carefully cultivating them. There's something unnerving about a place that doesn't lash out, but simply waits. Have you ever met someone who smiled politely while quietly studying you, as if choosing the perfect moment to strike? That's the personality this house seems to have from the very beginning. The Rolfe family arrives bright-eyed, hopeful, excited for a peaceful summer retreat. The mansion is enormous, beautiful in a decaying way, filled with dust-covered memories and long-forgotten rooms. But from the moment Marion sets foot inside, there's a strange pull, like the house is reaching out to her specifically. She's drawn to it, especially to the upstairs room of the mysterious, unseen Mrs. Allardyce. And that's where things start to feel off. Doesn't it unsettle you when a character grows attached to a place faster than they do to the people around them? While George Lutz from Amityville froze under the house's grip, Ben Rolfe seems to simmer. His irritation grows, then his anger, then his fear. Little moments that should be harmless twist with a dark edge, a sudden shift in Marion's expression. The sinister calm of the Allardyce siblings. The way the house repairs itself, slowly, subtly, after each family conflict. The more the Rolfes suffer, the more the mansion seems to bloom. Isn't that a terrifying idea? A house that heals itself with human misery the way a plant drinks water? The swimming pool scene alone feels like the house revealing its true nature, one of those moments where you can sense a presence just below the surface, waiting for the right heartbeat to stop. And every time Ben tries to confront Marion, she slips deeper into obsession with the house, nurturing it, tending to it, as if she's becoming part of its structure brick by brick. It raises a chilling question. Do we shape the places we live? Or can those places slowly reshape us? What gives Burnt Offerings its lasting power is how intimate the haunting feels. It's not about loud noises or sudden shocks, it's about emotional erosion. About watching a family unravel while the house quietly thrives. By the time Marion's transformation becomes undeniable, the house doesn't seem like a location anymore, it feels like a predator that's been pretending to sleep. So here's my question to you. Do you think Marion was chosen from the start? Or did the house simply take advantage of the cracks already in her heart? I'm genuinely curious what you think, because this film leaves just enough ambiguity for viewers to argue about the haunting long after the final devastating moment. 7. The Others, 2001. A woman and her two photosensitive children isolate themselves in a fog-shrouded mansion, only to realize the house may not be as empty as they believe, and neither may they. After the slow, suffocating possession of Burnt Offerings, stepping into The Others feels like walking into a world made entirely of silence and shadows. Everything here is muted, delicate, wrapped in a mist that seems to breathe along with the walls. This haunting isn't loud, it's patient, almost polite, which somehow makes it even more unnerving. Have you ever experienced a quiet so deep that it made your skin crawl? As if the air itself knew more than you did? Grace Stewart rules her home with strict routines and whispered rules meant to protect her children. Curtains must never be opened. Sunlight must never enter. Doors must be locked before another can be opened. The entire house becomes a maze of dim corridors and sealed rooms. And you can feel that something is wrong, not because anything jumps out, but because everything feels too controlled. And doesn't that make your imagination run wild? Because in a house this dark, anything could be watching. What makes this story so gripping is Grace herself. She is brittle, exhausted, fierce in her love but crumbling under the weight of her own fears. Every sound becomes a threat. Every movement becomes a question. When the new servants arrive, strangely calm, strangely knowing, the house seems to exhale, almost relieved. And from there, the tension tightens, one small, precise twist at a time. If you were in Grace's place, would you cling to your rules even harder? Or would you start doubting your own senses? The whispers come first. A piano plays by itself. Footsteps echo in locked rooms. Someone, or something, keeps removing the curtains, letting unwelcome light slip in. Grace's desperation grows, not because she fears for herself, but because she fears losing her children. And that fear becomes the emotional heartbeat of the film. It's not just a haunting, it's a story about a mother fighting shadows on every side, including the ones inside her own memory. As Grace seeks answers, the house begins revealing its truth in pieces, like someone peeling back layers of a story she's not ready to hear. And the twist, when it arrives, doesn't hit like a jump scare. It hits like a realization you've been slowly walking toward without noticing. Suddenly the rules, the whispers, the servants, the fog, all of it snaps into terrifying clarity. And you're left wondering, did you miss the clues? Or were you simply seeing what Grace wanted you to see? So here's my question for you. When you first watched The Others, Did you sense the truth early on? Or were you completely blindsided by the final reveal? And more importantly, do you think Grace deserved the peace she was searching for? Or was she trapped by something deeper than the haunting itself? I'd love to hear your take, because this film lingers long after the fog fades. 8. The Legend of Hell House, 1973. A team of paranormal investigators enters Belasco House, a mansion infamous for unimaginable horrors, only to discover the house's evil is smarter and far more vicious than they imagined. Following the tense, quiet dread of the others, the Legend of Hell House catapults us into a different kind of terror, one that doesn't wait politely for you to notice it. Belasco House feels alive in a way that's almost sentient, its walls pulsing with malevolence, its rooms reshaping themselves as if mocking those who dare enter. Have you ever walked into a place and felt like the shadows were watching you, anticipating your next move? That's the constant, creeping sensation in this film. It keeps you leaning forward, tense, unable to look away. Dr. Barrett, a skeptic drawn to the scientific, leads a team of specialists who are determined to prove or disprove the supernatural. But from the moment they cross the threshold, Belasco House makes it clear, proof will come on its terms. Objects move with deliberate intent, rooms distort with a cruel elegance, and the laughter, the screams, the invisible touches, they all arrive like reminders that the house knows you are an intruder. Can you imagine the growing paranoia? The way your mind starts questioning every glance, every sound, every flicker of light? It's intoxicating and terrifying at the same time. What sets this haunting apart is the psychological warfare the house wages. The investigators confront not only ghosts but their own deepest fears and secrets. It's a battle of wills, a test of endurance, and the house is patient. It waits, observing reactions, learning weaknesses, preying on them methodically. How would you react if the house seemed to read your thoughts before you acted? Bending reality to punish doubt and fear? That's the question the movie plants in every viewer's mind. The brilliance of The Legend of Hell House is in how it balances spectacle and suspense with an almost intimate terror. The haunting is vivid, yes, but it's also deeply personal. Each character faces horrors tailored to their psyche. And as the team unravels, you can feel the house feeding on tension, growing stronger with each act of fear, turning the mansion itself into a predator. It's not just a location, it's a force, one that lingers in your imagination long after the final scene. So here's something to ponder. Do you think Belasco House's evil is purely supernatural? Or is it amplified by human fear and weakness? Could you survive such a place? Or would your mind betray you first? I'm curious what you think. Because Hell House doesn't just haunt its characters. It challenges every viewer to ask how they'd fare in a house that wants more than to scare, it wants to consume. 9. The Old Dark House, 1932. A group of travelers seeks shelter during a storm in a decaying mansion, only to find the family within harbors secrets darker than the night outside. Following the malevolent, cunning terror of The Legend of Hell House, stepping into the Old Dark House feels like entering a storm itself, both literal and metaphorical. The mansion isn't just a backdrop, it's an actor, groaning under age and neglect, every creak and shadow suggesting that something waits in the corners. Have you ever arrived somewhere seeking safety, only to sense that the walls themselves are judging you, watching your every move? That tension is the heartbeat of this film, and it grips you immediately. The travelers, strangers thrown together by circumstance, arrive soaked and weary, expecting shelter and warmth. But the house offers neither. Its corridors twist like riddles. Rooms hold echoes of past misdeeds. And the family that inhabits it seems almost comically eccentric at first. Yet something about them hints at madness lurking just beneath the surface. Can you feel the subtle shift when humor turns into unease? When odd mannerisms become threatening? That's what makes this haunted house so compelling. It lulls you before it begins to unsettle. What makes this story linger is the interplay between isolation and fear. Each character reacts differently to the mounting tension. The brave ones falter, the timid find courage, and the curious discover truths better left unknown. You begin to feel it yourself. The creeping awareness that the storm outside is nothing compared to the storm within. Have you ever experienced that sense of being trapped, not by walls or locks, but by the unknown intentions of those around you? It's a psychological grip that keeps viewers leaning forward, almost afraid to breathe. The mansion itself becomes a mirror to human folly. Shadows play tricks, voices echo from empty halls, and objects seem to move when no one is looking. The house tests them, teases them, and reveals how quickly civility can crumble under stress. Watching these unravelings, you can't help but wonder, how would you behave under the same circumstances? Would fear reveal the worst in you, or the strength you didn't know you had? The old dark house is remarkable not just for its scares, but for the way it balances dread with dark humor and human drama. Its haunting is as much about the people inside as the mansion itself. And here's my question for you. Do you think the family's secrets were more frightening than the storm or the house? Would you have stayed, or would the uneasy feeling have sent you running into the night? Share your thoughts, because this classic keeps haunting long after the final shutter slams. 10. The Shining, 1980. A family moves into the isolated Overlook Hotel for the winter, only to find the building preys on their minds, twisting love and madness into a terrifying dance. After the unsettling eccentricities of the old dark house, we step into the cold, infinite corridors of the Overlook Hotel, a place where isolation isn't just physical, but psychological, gnawing at the edges of your sanity. From the moment Jack Torrance crosses the threshold, you feel the hotel's presence like a heavy, watching breath. Have you ever entered a place that seemed to anticipate your fears before you even realized them? That's the unsettling genius of the Overlook. It doesn't just scare, it studies you, learns you, and waits for the precise moment to strike. At first, the hotel appears almost benign, a winter retreat with grandeur and solitude. But those long, silent halls and endless patterns in the carpet hint at something deeply wrong. Jack is a man seeking renewal, a chance to write and reconnect with his family. Yet the Overlook feeds on his insecurities, his anger, and his unspoken desires. Doesn't it terrify you to imagine a place so intelligent that it knows exactly which buttons to press to unravel a person? As the isolation deepens, each member of the Torrance family begins to feel the hotel's subtle manipulation, the whispers, the flickering shadows, the visions that blur the line between past horrors and present danger. Danny, with his shining ability, senses the hotel's malevolent intentions far earlier than his father or mother. Yet even his gifts are only partially protective. It's almost heartbreaking how powerless one can feel in a place that distorts reality itself. The interactions with ghosts, apparitions, and the eerie Room 237 turn every moment into a test of will. If you were in Danny's shoes, seeing what he sees, would you scream, hide, or try to fight an enemy that doesn't quite exist in a tangible form? The brilliance of The Shining lies in its ability to blend internal and external terror. It's not just the hotel haunting the family, it's also Jack's own descent, mirrored and accelerated by the building's dark history. Every creak of the floorboards, every echo in the hallways, every frozen, empty corridor intensifies the psychological tension, leaving viewers on edge. And the Overlook isn't content to terrify quietly, it entices, provokes, and isolates, testing the limits of love, loyalty, and human endurance. So here's a question for you. Do you think the Overlook Hotel is purely evil? Or does it simply amplify the darkness already inside the Torrance family? Could you survive a winter in such a place? Or would you succumb to its whispers? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you think Jack was doomed from the start, or if the hotel simply gave him the push he already needed. Because The Shining isn't just a story about ghosts, it's a mirror. And it reflects the fears we all carry. And there you have it, 10 haunted houses. 10 stories that reach into the shadows and tug at something deep inside us. From Hill House to the Overlook, we've wandered corridors where silence screams, and rooms where the past refuses to stay buried. Which of these houses would you dare to enter? And which would you flee from? I want to hear your thoughts, your fears, and your theories. Drop them in the comments. If you loved this journey into darkness, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the next chilling tale is never far away.